Did you orient them to Friendship Gardens?
Not at all. I'm just
Why don't we give a, while we're waiting, before I give my spiel, why don't you give your spiel about International Friendship? So my name's Eric Nagy, for those of you who don't know me. I coordinate the Calumet Outdoors Series. We also happen to be as part of a project which I'll talk about.
Good timing.
Awesome.
I work for a consulting firm called Weaver Booth Consultants along with John and Kathy. And we're also doing a big project along the Trail Creek corridor to start connecting open space. So I'll talk a little bit about that as well. But if you want to give just a quick overview of Friendship Gardens, if you've never been here, it's a really wonderful place. I got married here, my sister got married here, my dad has a garden here. It's also got a lot of wonderful natural areas, which I think is what we're going to be mostly focusing on today, hopefully.
Yeah, that'd be a nice one.
Okay, my name is Nancy Janelle. I'm the administrator of the gardens, and as I was telling somebody, I'm a gardener and a beggar because we're a nonprofit. We have 106 plus acres, and all of us are volunteers. We have absolutely nobody on salaried staff. So everybody you see here, we're all volunteering because we love the gardens. Approximately half of our acreage is wooded areas. The creeks wander through, and it's wonderful for hiking and nature and all those things that most of us in this group love. We also have about 50 acres that are what I would call formal gardens. We do weddings here. We do receptions, birthday parties, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, track meets, just you name it. There are a lot of events that we have here. So what we do is we try to have 12 to 15 events every year that are free to the public. We focus on children's activities and obviously education about our wonderful park, because everything that's here is here because it's either native or it was planted by people who love the gardens. And as Eric was saying, his father did a Romanian garden as a tribute to his grandparents, your grandparents, or great-grandparents.
His father.
Yeah. And we have a Native American garden, Scotland, Germany, Norway. We have a large area that is on our celebration side where we have musicals and all sorts of events. So we try to really be an advantage to our neighbors. We realize that a lot of families are in a situation where they don't have a lot of money, so we try to stress having free events that children and the parents can come to. So we try to work with other groups in the area, and which is obviously what we're doing today. And when you stroll through part of our area, you'll probably realize that many of you have not been out here, and you'll want to come back. We're the only park in the city that allows dogs on a leash. None of the city parks will allow dogs. And we have a lot of people who become members just so that they can bring their dog with them. And we have never had any problem whatsoever. And I really, don't want to get into the politics of dogs and no dogs, but we are dog friendly. We even have a few people bring their cats on a leash. Now, if I could get mine to deal with that, mine walks about 5 feet and then he turns and looks at me like, okay, and then he sets down. I'm sorry?
How often does Goat Guy come here?
Not too often. He used to come here quite a bit.
Goat on a leash, that I got.
Yeah, I mean, he just, well, and we had 2 swans here for a while.
Killer swans.
Well, just the one. Now it's not.
You attacked me twice.
Because you're a male and you don't feed him. And Jude and I have no troubles with him. He's now down in a space. He's doing very well with his friend. And we will be bringing them back. He's much calmer now. He went from being a little boy to being a man, you know. And so they're much better than they were, and they're coming back. So if you want to see something, when the snow's up to your waist, picture Jude or I marching through the snow to get down and feed the swans, break a hole in the ice, and all those good things. But people who are members of the gardens can come in 365 days a year. We have people who come in and snowshoe, and we've got a couple great hills for sliding and sledding, and so we try to offer things for a lot of different people. So welcome, and you'll...
So yeah, thank you. So again, my name is Eric Nagu, for those of you who don't know. Today is kind of a unique day. So the Calumet Outdoors Series is a consortium of a lot of groups, and I can hand you this brochure. The idea was, so it's got the Field Museum, Hitchcock Design Group, Weber Booz Consultants, Chicago Department of Environment, Northwest Indiana Paddling Association, National Park Service, Open Lands. Some of these are groups that you're definitely familiar with, I hope. The idea was we wanted to highlight areas in the Calumet for outdoor activities. I grew up here, lived in Colorado for 6 years. It's pretty easy to figure out where you go hiking in Colorado. You look west and there's big mountains, and you go that way and you find some trails and hike around. Here it's a little more subtle, and a lot of people don't know about a lot of the areas and a lot of the opportunities, but there are an awful lot of outdoor opportunities. Obviously we have the Indiana Dunes National Lakeshore, we've got the Indiana Dunes State Park, there's the Cook County Forest Preserve District in Cook County. The Calumet region, for those of you who don't know, is kind of the southern suburbs in Chicago, south side of Chicago, into Indiana, and up into really around the New Buffalo area. That's kind of the area that's been defined as the Calumet. It's historically, ecologically significant. It's a very biodiverse area. It's also a very threatened area. So one of the things we're trying to do is highlight these areas so that people will use them, and as people use them, they will want to preserve them, hopefully, and that is the plan. So the idea behind this logistically is that once a month we have a hike. It's always the third Saturday of every month. It's guided by somebody who knows a lot more than I do. Today it's going to be John Irvin with IDNR, soon to be retired and wealthy. We'll have folks from Save the Dunes, Shirley Hines Land Trust, JF New, Field Museum's led about 2 or 3 hikes, and they're out here today poking around, and I'm about doing something else I'll tell you about in a second. So the hike is always at 9 a.m. except for today. Before I tell you why today is the exception, I will also tell you that every second Saturday of the month at 9 a.m. there is a paddle. So if you are a canoer or a kayaker or interested in canoeing and kayaking, we can provide one for you, and we do all kinds of events all throughout the area. They're usually very moderate, so if you're a beginner, that's fine. But we do ask that you RSVP for that. This event is kind of show up if you can. If you RSVP, we love it. If you don't, and just show up, that's great too. So why today is at 11 o'clock and not 9 o'clock is because we're doing what's called a Bioblitz. Trail Creek Corridor is kind of a unique corridor. So Michigan City is a largely urban area, but they've done a really good job of preserving this corridor, this riparian riverine corridor, partly because of places like Friendship Gardens, partly because of strategic acquisitions that they've made as part of a watershed management plan that they've put together. And over the years, they've collected a lot of these sites, and they said, boy, we need to knit these together, because right now they're not accessible, and they're really not functional for public use. And we were asked, as our consulting firm, along with Hitchcock Design Group, Julie's with them, to put something together that kind of highlights this. It starts to connect these and figure out where the disjointed areas are, or where the other opportunities are, and how can we have a trail that goes along the stream. We're looking at redeveloping a Superfund site over here that's been delisted, and we're working with the EPA to develop that into a park that will be a 4-season park, which we don't really currently have, so that would have some winter activities as well, and that would be a public park. So today, as part of that, thanks to the Michigan City Redevelopment Commission and the Gaylord and Dorothy Donnelly Foundation and the Indiana, what is it, Alliance?
Indiana Academy of Science.
Academy of Science. We have about 45-ish PhDs, experts in all kinds of biological fields all throughout this corridor, and I've got maps if you're interested in seeing afterward, who are going out and identifying as many plants, as many fungi, as many birds, as many fish, as many mollusks, anything you can find in nature as possible. They're documenting it, and then they'll give us a big report and say, look what you got in Michigan City. And I can tell you, I went out at 7. I've been out for about 5 hours today, and we were out with the insect guys who were over here last night. I don't know if they ended up finding anything interesting, although they certainly seemed fascinated with every single beetle that they found. But I can tell you that this morning in Fetter's Alley, we found some very, very unusual things, and we're gonna, after this, we're gonna have a talk. So if everybody's welcome to join us at Swing Bellies for drinks and appetizers, which is just down the road, maybe 2 minutes from here, and we're gonna have a little bit of a presentation. So I guess you need those to participate. So if you're gonna go to Swing Bellies, see Kathy before you leave. So this hike, we pushed back a little bit because we wanted to go right from this to Swing Bellies for those of you who want to do that. Luckily it didn't get as hot as I thought it was going to get, so it's actually a wonderful day. John Irvin is a wonderful hike leader. He's led some hikes. I'm involved with Save the Dunes, and he's led some hikes for us, and they've been really fantastic. I learned a ton on them. So John, do you want to talk a little bit about what we're going to see today?
Sure. Just a little bit about myself here. I'm John Irvin, Division of Nature Preserves. Been in this position since 2005, and pretty much a self-taught biologist, ecologist, with some schooling to verify some knowledge. But this region is particularly interesting because of its history. You were asking about some things, why this area is so diverse, and it has to do with a lot of different effects. The glaciers coming down and scouring everything, and then their recession, leaving a topography of dunes and moraines, varying hydrologies, varying aspects. We have prairies coming into this region, we have eastern deciduous forest, we have boreal type species coming in from the north, and of course this was a major throughway for Little Turtle and Tecumseh and the rest of those early hippies that used to trade and stuff along the rivers and the shorelines here. So this was a place where a lot of seeds ended up, and it's been anecdotally defined as the per unit area, the most botanically diverse spot on the continent. And so as far as number of species, it's number 3 on the continent, the National Lakeshore, only in line to the Grand Canyon National Park and Great Smoky Mountains. So we're in a very unique spot, and we happen to be in a very unique time where it's almost a sad period of time with things like global warming and pollution and invasive species and industrialization over the last 200 years effectively tearing things up. We are, in this region, we are at a nexus of and an exemplary situation where humanity is cohabiting with nature, and it's really ironic that this biodiversity occurs with this type of population density. And so we have railroads, highways, industry, steel mills, pollution, crap falling from the air that we don't even know what it is, and still nature survives and comes fighting back. And it's a great time to be an ecologist. It's a great time to witness some of these things that are happening. And so in here, one of the things that I will highlight along the hike is one of those is the invasive species. As Nancy described, most of the things you see in here are native, and it is an exquisite place to look at that. We'll take a walk down what's the Old Indian Trail, and I don't know why that's named that, but I'd love to hear about it someday. But we'll go through an oak forest that is structurally very, very much like what you would expect it to look like 200 years ago. And then we'll go along the floodplain through Otter Creek, and a really neat trail that hangs over Trail Creek, a very narrow trail that's almost primordial in its setting. That it's very scenic. We'll be single file down that, and so I've led a lot of hikes where I try to interpret along the way a lot. But I think this is the kind of thing, if you have specific questions for me as we go along, I'm going to keep my mouth shut and let you enjoy it. And if you do have specific questions for me, I'll be glad to try to answer them. But somebody said, was it you that said that I was the expert? Don't call me an expert. That's a compound word. An X is a has-been, and a spurt's a big drip, and that's not me. So let's just take a walk and have some fun down this trail. So we're going to take the first left turn here. There's bathrooms behind this little cabin, is that
this
right?
is the only bathroom, so use it or lose it, I guess.
And if you get lost, Nancy will have this staged up on the trail up here, so if anybody can't make it all the way back, it's really a short hike. So if anybody can't make it back, I have her cell phone number. We can get people out if necessary, and I think it's just going to be a nice.
Real quick, who thinks they're going to go to Swing Bellies afterward? Okay, great. I actually have to leave. I'm going to cut my hike short because I have to go pick up 2 of the Bioblitz guys to take them back. They don't have a car right now. So, Kathy, can you just make sure everybody gets where they're going? It's very, very close and very easy to find, so there shouldn't be any confusion.
When you guys get there, just don't open it our way.
Okay. Any questions? The Swing Bellies thing starts at 12:30, so we'll hike for about an hour, and that should be good.
Yeah, I have my clock with me, so.
Great. Great.
Back in time. Thanks for.
Oh, and I've got, if you're interested in the Trail Creek project or more hikes, we've got the brochures in the house here.
It's over on the side table as well. So
Please grab those. We'll add you to the email list if you put your email down.
Eric, we usually, if we have the information, it usually goes up on the website as well.
So the
And that would be the Calumet Stewardship
Initiative is
Initiative.
a wonderful partner and a wonderful organization to become a member. I think it's free to be a member.
You have to be an
You
organization.
have to be an organization, so if you're affiliated with
501c3.
it's kind of an umbrella organization for the whole region. Kevin's the secretary,
Right.
Correct.
Joanne's the chairperson.
and 2 better people to work with, I do not know.
Only because
Thank
we
you.
have good people to work.
And it's a fabulous group and a fabulous organization. It's kind of growing.
We have 40 member organizations right now, like Field Museum, Sierra Club, that sort of thing. And
Yeah.
of course, the trails groups and so forth.
So they're a wonderful group, and if you want any more information, ask Kevin or Joanne. They hugely knowledgeable people.
Activities, announcements, and if there are special events, we'll put them in as articles as well. But so there's an announcements page, there's an activities page. It covers a 4-month period, and it indicates everything that we know of that's going on with our member organizations in the region, which is all the way from Valpo to over in the steel mill area in South Chicago, Southeast Chicago.
Great, so let's get hiking.
Oh, thank you, Dave.